Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. And welcome to not winter but not summer in Texas. The weather here, it's really crazy. It was in the 20s just a few days ago, and yesterday it was in the 80s. Epic view, still looks good. Overcast, but not cold. So lately we have been talking all about maintenance. You've seen me do all the maintenance on the equipment in the trailer. And you know one thing we forgot to do, and I didn't think about it until I was done making that video, is we didn't talk about the most important piece of equipment to do maintenance on. And that's the actual trailer. I think we sometimes forget the trailer needs some maintenance too. More specifically, right there. We need to pull off the tires and the hubs, check the bearings, and repack them full of grease. And we're gonna do it now when it's not quite mowing season. That way, when mowing season gets here, we're not stuck doing this during the busy time when we need the trailer to be good to go for the rest of the year. But first, we have to make a quick trip to O'Reilly's to get some supplies. All right, we're back and we have supplies. So first up, brake clean, because we're gonna need a ton of that to clean everything up. Next up, we have some high temp wheel bearing grease because, well, we're gonna need some once we clean these up and have to repack them. We also got some gloves so that we don't get the grease and the brake clean over our hands. And we have new axle seals. And you're probably wondering, why do you have 8 in there? You only have 4 tires. And that's because the local trailer shop told me 5,200 pound axles are technically 7,000 pound axles, and with Dexter you never know what you're going to get. He goes, normally you would get this wheel seal, but because sometimes they throw in 7K stuff, you might actually have a 5,200 pound axle that's actually rated for 7K because they put different bearings and seals in it. So he gave me both and said, when you get done, bring back the one you didn't use and I'll refund you your money. Because he knows nothing's worse than starting a job and realizing you have the wrong part. So he gave me both to save me the trip. I still have to go back, but at least I don't have to go back in the middle of the job. Step 1, we're gonna take the truck and hook it to the trailer and get it up here in the flatter section so we can do our work. Hooked up. Next step is to figure out how to jack it up. But first, it looks like that 20-degree weather has some of these tires looking a little low. That one's not doing so well. We're gonna have to put a lot of air in that one. All right, that took a long time because basically the tire was empty. I'm gonna let it see if it settles out right now. It's holding at 80 PSI, but there was hardly any air left in that tire. I was thinking it's because of the temperature, but all the other ones are fine. And this one does seem to be dropping. So we're probably gonna check this tire out and see if we got a nail or a screw in it. Which is funny because I've had 2 flats on this trailer and both times they're the back tire. How did it miss the front tire and catch the back tire? While I was waiting for that to air up, I went ahead and made something to help us do this job. This right here, I had some spare wood around, so it made me a little ramp. My idea is to drive the trailer up on one set of tires so I can get the other set off the ground. Because when you have a 2-axle trailer, you should be able to do all these jobs without jacking the trailer up, because you can use the trailer to help do the job yourself. Before we jack it up though, we gotta break the lug nuts loose, because you'll never break them when it's off the ground. I'm actually curious, do you think the Dewalt will do it, or are we gonna have to get the old trusty breaker bar to break these off? The last time I did it, this guy didn't have enough to get it done. Oh yeah. Look at that. The old Dewalt had enough power. Now, let's see how good my ramp works. You guys let me know when I should stop. Look at that. Now we can work on it without having to jack it up off the ground. And we leave one tire on the ground and the truck is holding it. So this is the safest you can be, because I'm not relying on a jack. The worst it can do is fall back down on the tire it's already on. Well, there doesn't appear to be a screw or any damage. I don't know why that tire was almost completely empty. We'll check it again when we put it back on, and if it's holding air, we're gonna call it good, and if it's not, we're probably gonna replace them anyway, because these trailers do not come with great tires. Like, that's the first thing you should do on a trailer. And I just was gonna wait until they all wore down some, but this is my second flat of the 4 that came on it, and they're just not good. I believe they're only 10 ply. You really should have a better tire on the trailer that you use for work. But that's not what today's about. Today's about taking care of these bearings and making sure they're good to go for the rest of the season. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere. This nut right here wasn't very tight at all. So that means it was probably time to do an inspection anyway, because it probably wasn't seated very well and it could have caused problems long term. But so far, everything looks good. We're gonna get cleaned up, take a good look at it, repack them, put it back together, and do this 3 more times. All right, so we have 2 seals the guy gave us, and he said basically you just have to look at them and read the numbers off of them. He said the one with the big hole is for a 7K axle, and the one with the smaller hole is for a 5,200 pound axle. We have 5,200 pound axles, but we have 7K seals on it. So likely, that means that our axle has 7K bearings in it. But regardless of what it has, we're going back with the 7K seal because that's what's in it right now. So we've cleaned everything up and we've used an excessive amount of brake clean because, well, these things were dirty. These drum brakes leave so much dust. Look at all that dust down there. All that is just brake clean getting the dust off. So we checked out the spindle. Everything's good. No marks on the bearing race area. The brakes look good besides being super dusty. Plenty of meat. These are also self-adjusting, so you don't have to do anything for those. You just drive them in normally and it adjusts accordingly. We've checked out the hub and all the races. Good to go. The bearings look good as well. So now it's time for the fun part. We get to repack these bearings. Man, this is super messy. And I know you're probably saying, why don't you just get a grease packer? Well, I probably should, but I don't have one today, so this is the way I'm doing it. Man, you get grease everywhere. There's grease all over you guys. There's grease on the camera, there's grease on the tripod, there's grease on the ground. I know I put this piece of wood down, but literally the grease is landing everywhere but on the wood. All right, we have everything inspected, everything's greased up, we got our grease seal installed. Now we're gonna put everything back together. All right, it's seated. Now we're gonna back it off and make sure it's the right tension. I really love these clips. I don't know what these clips are called, but these are way better than cotter pins because you always have to find the right spot. So sometimes you're either too loose or too tight, but these go on no matter where the bolt is. Sorry, where the nut is. And the last step before I put everything back together is I like to go ahead and hook the grease gun up and squirt it full of grease while I rotate the hub to make sure we have grease coming back and not going on the spindle out the back of the seal. And there it is. It finally filled the cavity up. You can see it coming to see us. Now we know the seal's holding and the entire thing is full of grease. Guess who showed up to supervise the work?
How y'all doing?
You guys are starting to see him on this channel more because, well, we're doing work and he likes to supervise me doing work. He showed up just as I was done with the first one. We're getting ready to put the tire back on, but we think it may have a hole in it. So we're gonna check the air pressure before we put it back together, but it had 16 PSI when we started. It took forever to air up and it don't get empty by itself.
You know, you just said that bad poor little word to me, don't you?
What, work?
Work.
That's okay, you're gonna be busy working on that chair.
Now you're talking.
All right, maybe we don't have a flat in it. Maybe it was just low for unknown reasons because this took us maybe 30 minutes to do this first one right there. And it's still holding 78 PSI. Well, if you ask me, that's not really a leak. We put 80 in it. It's dropped 1.2 PSI in 30 minutes. That's pretty normal. Phil went to the eye doctor this morning, and I'd love for you guys, I'm gonna let him tell you, but the way he described his doctor's appointment, I'm not really sure if that's what they do, but that's what Phil says they did.
What he said he's gonna do is go in there and go on the back side of the eye and drill some holes in it and let that cloudy fluid come on out, and then I guess, I don't know if you sew it up or tape it up or what you do, and that ought to fix my eye. That seems mighty simple, don't it?
He's trying to polish that up a little bit. He told me yesterday he's gonna punch holes in my eye and drain out this foggy fluid. And I said, that's not exactly what he's gonna do. He goes, more or less, that's what he's gonna do.
Well, I wanted to clean it up a little bit. Yeah, you gotta poke some holes in there like you do a tire and let it drain out. That's gonna fix my eyeball. I'll be good to go.
So, did he fix your eyeball?
Nope.
Did he let too much foggy fluid out?
Nope. Didn't let it. He x-rayed it, and he said the bottom of the lens, and I put it in layman's term, looked like it been ran over by a diesel truck. And he said, has it been bothering you before? And I said, well, it was a little bit blurry, you know, when I got my glasses. I noticed it. I thought just the lens on my glasses. He said, no. He said, there's terminology. You got ran over by something. Anyways, he said, if it hadn't been bothering you up till now, risk and reward. In other words, I'll probably die before it worries me anymore. He'd just leave it alone. The shocker, I thought on my insurance going to cover it all. Guess what? $60. He said, I guess I'll see you in 12 years. I kind of laughed at him. I said, yeah, that's about all I can afford.
All right, now that we are done with the first one, it's time to do the second one. And just like that, we are done. Just see how much faster it is when we do the YouTube fast working magic? It goes by way smoother. Right, Phil?
That's right. I about broke a sweat.
We did a 30-minute job in about 35 seconds.
Is that what happens when you do something like that?
No. Sometimes that's when I just want to make it show up done.
Oh, okay. That's
this one we just showed us working like we just drank 14 Dr. Peppers. All right, so we have one side of the trailer done. And we know you guys probably don't want to watch the other side, so if you do, rewind and watch that side again. But just know, we are about to do this side just like that. This side is done. So Phil, what do you think's faster? When we work really fast, like we're on 14 Dr. Peppers?
Okay.
Or when I just snap it to done?
You know, we're fast, but that does it. It's faster. How do they know that you did it over here?
Well, they're just gonna have to trust the YouTube magic work, that we actually did do it. But I guess they'll never know if we actually did do it.
I guess so, but it's done. People I'd like to hang around, but there's an old recliner there at my house. I can hear it calling my name, so I'm out of here.
Bye, Phil.
Bye. Y'all, bye.
Call me if you don't make it home. I know how reliable a Dodge is.
And you can try to get it with a Ford?
So that's gonna do it for the trailer maintenance. But I just got a phone call and I have some parts in town I need to go pick up. And it's all thanks to one of you guys last week when I was having problems with my blower and my trimmer. One of you guys made a suggestion and I followed up on it, and well, it was time to do some maintenance. So we're gonna run to town and get those parts. And we are back. So we were able to take the axle seals we didn't use back to the trailer place, and he said, I told you so. Sometimes your 5,200 pound axles actually have 7K parts in them. Even though it's rated for 5,200, sometimes he says the 7K stuff is more available, and that's what they build them with. And we were able to go by the lawnmower store, which is actually not my dealer. Well, they're my dealer for all my handhelds, but not for my mower. And we got fuel filters and air filters. And that's because in our last video, I showed you guys I was doing some maintenance on my handhelds, meaning my main trimmer and my main blower. And I was just changing the spark plugs because I have a hard time with them starting and running. And I thought, good job, Kevin, you did a good job. Well, some of you, actually several of you, suggested that I go ahead and change the fuel filters and the air filters because it's time to do it anyway, because you should do it once a season. I looked in the manual, it's very vague. Sometimes it says once a season, sometimes it says every 6 months. Either way, I decided to go back and take a second look at my maintenance on my handhelds. And even though I only used them for about 5 months last year, they were all due for some maintenance. So we went ahead and changed all the spark plugs and all the air filters in every single piece of handheld equipment in that trailer. So both chainsaws, the hedge trimmer, all 4 2620s, both blowers, and my big pole saw. And the one thing we were waiting on, fuel filters. They didn't have fuel filters, so I had to wait for them to order them, and now we have them. Hoo-wee, look at these projects. I've got lots of projects if you don't know. And my project season is coming to an end because it's about to be mowing season, meaning all these projects are going to be on the back burner. But yeah, here is my still stuff. The reason those are still out is because I need to get the air filters changed and also the fuel filters. I know something about still. I know everybody says still is awesome. The one thing I don't like about still, you need tools to do all the maintenance. So like you need a tool to get covers off to get access to those things. That's why I love Echo. I can change everything without tools. I can change air filters, fuel filters, and even I can get to spark plugs without tools. I mean, you still need the tool to get the spark plug out, but you don't need tools to get to the job, which is awesome. I mean, still is good too, but I like the idea that you don't need all these tools to do maintenance. Main trimmer, main blower. Gets used every single day, multiple times for every yard. So it made sense that these were very, very dirty. Also very dirty. But everything else didn't make sense because, in my mind, not everything's getting used. Like this stick edger. This gets used really only on the first time I do a yard for the season. And then I kind of put it away. I maintain it with that. This one looked brand new. Not much going on there. This hedge trimmer. Well, it's the PAS system, but I have a hedge trimmer attachment on because I use that a lot. This one surprised me. I feel like I didn't use that much this year, and this one was actually not far off from that one. And I was like, man, that's crazy because I do hedge trimming, but I didn't think I did that much. The pole saw, I know I used it a lot, but I didn't feel like I used it as much as I did. The air filter was terrible on this one, and the pre-filter was just clogged up. And the spark plug was pretty black. And now my big pole saw, the one that's in the garage, that one you could tell I used a lot, and I know I used it a lot because I used it a lot. I use it a lot. It looked terrible. Like that stuff probably needed to be changed 3 months ago. My still blower actually looked brand new because I only use it to broadcast pest control stuff, like, you know, mosquitoes and that kind of stuff. Looks brand new, like nothing happened. But I went ahead and changed the spark plug anyway. Did not change the fuel filter or air filter, but I am changing the fuel filter. And this guy right here, the hedge trimmer. This was the worst piece of equipment in here. The air filter completely clogged up. The spark plug was, well, it was just so black from carbon. Fuel filter, probably about the same as those, but that one surprised me too because I really didn't feel like I used it a lot, and apparently I did. And then up here, I have my two chainsaws. This is the 3410 small chainsaw, super awesome. Use it all the time because it's not heavy. That's the 620p, super heavy, awesome chainsaw. I most of the time cut big things down and then put that back on the trailer because it's heavy. And we do the rest of the job with this one. That one right there looked brand new. Like I haven't used it at all. I mean, the air filter wasn't even dirty. The spark plug wasn't even that black from carbon. This one, I'm not even sure how it still ran because I couldn't even see through the air filter. And this was the dirtiest spark plug of all the equipment. So this guy right here, he apparently has been being a workhorse and we haven't been taking care of him. And I'm actually more impressed now after seeing the maintenance items I took out that this thing still runs and starts on the first try and it's just a workhorse. So yeah, That's why I love Echo equipment. I kind of abused some of these, or I didn't do the maintenance like I thought. Well, I'm doing the maintenance, but probably should have done it sooner on some of these. But yeah, this stuff's awesome. And now that we have the fuel filters, we're gonna go ahead and change fuel filters on every single piece of equipment. And now that our seals are done, we're ready to go for the season. Our maintenance is done for the season, and we're ready to start mowing and taking care of properties. And hopefully all this maintenance we're doing is gonna help us have a successful year and avoid any major breakdowns or problems. I know we're gonna have problems. You're gonna have problems if you use equipment for money. Let's have manageable problems. Have I shown y'all my epic view in the back of my house? I've got the cows out today. They're not my cows, but it kind of feels like they're my cows because they come over here and hang out with me sometimes. Epic view with cows. I think we are ready to start the mowing season. We have been putting out quotes like crazy. Our clients are going up by the day, and we're getting ready to rock and roll. I'm actually about to start looking for a permanent full-time help to help me because my days are filling up, and I think I may have scheduled more work than I can do by myself several days of the week. But that's the exciting part about owning your own business. We are growing, Cutting Edge is doing big things, and now all of our equipment, well, it's ready to go for the season. Now all we gotta do is fill the day full of work. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one.